Welcome back to the Complete Money Playbook, and today we're going to talk about budgeting and debt payoff, and hopefully you already watched the first two episodes about money dreams and your money reality, and this week, there's no script. This is my version of me holding your face, and this is where the rubber meets the road, and if you haven't watched our intro video or the first two episodes, this is now time to get serious about this. I always compare money and finance to food and eating a healthy lifestyle, and to me, these are two topics that, at least for me and for my kids, they were never taught in school, and these were topics you had to go find out and learn on your own, and I'm not sure why that is, since every person I know has to eat every day, and you have to figure out how, have enough money to be able to pay for everything in your life. And I guess we're just supposed to figure that out. So this week, I'm going to give you some actual homework and some tools so that we can nail down your current reality, and then we can start the process of getting you on your path to whatever your definition of wealthy is. So hopefully you're ready, because if you put in the work, you can make your financial dream come true, and that will bleed into every other aspect of your life, your relationships, your health, your happiness, your confidence. Trust me, when your finances are going well and money's not a concern anymore, it's amazing how other parts of your life become amazing as well. So let's get out some paper. We're going to take some notes today, and we're going to have some homework so that we can get this process started, going from reality to actually start doing something to put us in a better financial situation. If you're enjoying the content we're putting out on the Complete Money Playbook, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment below. We're happy to answer any questions you have. And please share this video and this channel with anyone you think that might need this information. So the first thing that we're going to do, and we talked about this briefly last week, is we need to make a list of every debt that you have. So whether you have a house, a car, a boat, an RV, a trailer, I don't care what it is that you physically actually have, we need a little estimated and a conservative estimation of what it's worth. I want you to have a loan balance so that we can figure out where you are. We want the minimum payment and the interest rates on those debts so we know where we're starting. We're also going to want to do this on things that are not tangible assets. So if you have credit card debt, you have student loan payments, you have medical bills, whatever debt you owe to anyone for any reason, we want to make a list of all of these different things. And the reason that we do is now we're going to start to have this payoff start to happen. And people ask me all the time, should I invest or should I pay off my debt? And here's the thing. Your debts are usually at interest rates so much higher than what we can earn on other things. So you hear the term high yield savings account, which you might earn 4 or 5%. The long term over the last 50 years over the stock market has been about 10% returns. So if you have debts, especially for things that are not your house, all the other debts, which typically all can become less and less valuable over time, usually the interest rates are really high on those things, we want to focus on paying all that debt off first. So with that being said, we also want to know how much money you're making, how much money is being deposited into your checking account every 2 weeks. And if you have any savings balances or 401k balances, or any other information that you have, so we can figure out exactly where you are as far as your net worth goes, and then we can start this process of paying off your debt. I went and Googled the word debt payoff, and you will see a million different ways. Debt snowball, debt avalanche, debt consolidation companies, balance transfers, debt settlement companies. There's a million different ways to do it, but for example, a debt consolidation company is going to charge you a fee to take a whole bunch of these debts, put them into one place so they only have one payment. Of course, they're doing that so they can make money too. You see offers all the time about balance transfers for a credit card where they say, hey, transfer your balance over here, and for X amount of months, it's going to be no interest. What they don't tell you though is if you don't get that balance paid off in 6 months or 12 months, they're going to charge you interest all the way back to the beginning in many cases. And also there's third-party debt settlement companies. So let's say you had an IRS debt or some sort of large debt. They're going to try to settle that debt for you for a lower amount, which depending on what kind of debts you have, I mean, most of the time we're talking about more of the standard debt varieties that people have. There are lots of different ways to do this. And what I want you to know is this. There isn't necessarily a right way or a wrong way. You just have to be careful about the way that you're going to do it so that you have a plan in place. So if you're someone who shares your money with another person, then obviously you're going to be able to have conversations with this person about putting this plan in place. If one person's a spender and one person's a saver, and every time you try to pay off one debt, you're just creating another, this is not going to work for you. And so you're going to have to figure out those kind of things. When you Google that word again, I got other words like increase your income or reduce your spending, or track your spending, or make double payments, which is all great and dandy, but if you don't know how much money you have coming in versus how much money you have going out, how are you going to do all of these things? You could go on and on. There's a million different things you can Google and look up. We're going to put a basic, simple plan in place for you to do that right now. If you want to know more about me and the Complete Money Playbook, click the link in the bio. It'll take you to the Complete Money Playbook website where you can find a lot of great information about us so that we can help you going forward. So here's the deal when it comes to debts and paying off your debts. First things first we got to do, and you can call it whatever you want. I call it a budget. There are other people out there who will call it a financial plan, a spending plan, a balance sheet. I honestly don't care what you want to call it. It's basically all the same thing, which means we have to have a budget. There are lots of different ways to do that. I actually brought a little copy of one that I did with my son and his friends, and we did it just in an Excel spreadsheet. If you go in Excel, just type in sample budget. It'll give you one, and it gives you a lot of the categories for that. For those of you that are doing it online, there was a million online apps that you can do it in, whether it was NerdWallet or EveryDollar or Rocket Money, Honeydew, Budget Pulse. There were tons of them. I couldn't even believe how many of them they were. And I've never used an online budgeting tool, so I don't know if they're difficult or easy to do. I just know this, because in today's world with debit cards and credit cards and online payments and a million other ways to transfer money to each other, people are not feeling the pain of spending that money. So I would love for you to do for the next maybe 3 months, I don't think we'd have to do it much longer than that, is either print up this spreadsheet off of Excel or literally get a pad of paper and start writing this down yourself. So we want to start off with the easier category, which is obviously income. So most of you that are watching this probably get paid every 2 weeks. I am a commissioned salesperson, so I don't get paid every 2 weeks. So for me, I have to more forecast what my income is going to be, so I focus more on the other side of this balance sheet. But first things first, we got to know how much you're getting deposited in your account every month. And if you are one of those people that's having money pulled off the top for a health savings plan or a 401k plan or other things, we want to make sure that we're tracking that stuff as well. But first things first is, where's your money coming in from? Are you earning money from a side hustle, or you're earning money from investments or interest from a savings account? Whatever it is, we want to categorize that all up front. For those of you guys that are making money that are like me, then you're just going to have to forecast it the best you can. But when it comes to the other side of the expense categories, where we're going to track all our expenses, we're going to want to do that in great detail. And of course, the big ones that we always talk about are housing, transportation. When we talk about housing, we're talking about not just your house payment. We're talking about the power bill, the water bill, the trash bill, maintenance, landscaping, repairs, everything that goes involved with a house. Because if somebody gets surprised that a house needs maintenance, whether it's an upgrade, you shouldn't be surprised by any of these things. It's something that you know that's going to happen. No difference in transportation. When I was going through this with my son and his friends, it's funny to me how they get shocked when the car needs new cars, or it's time for an oil change, or every year your registration comes due. You've got to track all these things. And for a short time, what I want you to do, honestly, is get a little book like this and walk around with it. And for a while, every time, whether you're actually physically writing a check, which most of you aren't going to do, but I think it's a good idea, whether you're using your debit card, your credit card, whether you're using Venmo, whatever it is, every time you spend some money, I want you to sit there and write it down in this book. And I think you would be surprised how much money you're actually spending. This is the same conversation I have with people when it comes to health and food, is if you literally for a week wrote down every single thing you put in your mouth, you would actually be eating probably a lot more than you think, and maybe not as healthy as you think. And I know for me, that's always a big one because I struggle more with the food thing than I do with the finance thing. So we're going to start with those. So the next thing I want to explain is, and you're going to see these terms on the internet too, if you were to go Google the top 10 types of budgets, you're going to see zero-based budgets and envelope budgets and pay yourself first and calendar budgets, cash budgets where someone is typically, just using cash for everything. And in today's world, a lot of places won't even accept cash. And something like an envelope budget, which is something that my grandfather did way back in the day, where literally just had envelopes in a drawer. They put money in those envelopes and they only spent cash out of those envelopes. Obviously, back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, where we didn't even have credit cards yet, that was a strategy that probably worked a lot better than it would now. However you want to track it, and I know for me, I do it on a monthly basis, and I used to have to do it in writing and on paper, and now in today's world, I don't have to do it that way anymore. So some short-term pain for some long-term gain. Here is what I would love to see you do for the first 3 to 6 months, and then we can automate it all. If you are someone who is much younger than me or even older than me, and you want to use an online app and you're really good at it and you can track everything this way, that's great. But I really do feel like automation is causing problems for people. And so if you can do it in writing and you can do it by hand, that would be the best way to go. So once we have all these lists, we know what we're making, we know what our spending is and what our monthly bills are, and we know what all our assets and debts are, then we'll put a plan in place to start attacking what should we pay off first? What should we pay off second? And there's a couple ways to do it. You always hear people talking about, I want to attack my expenses with the highest interest rates. And there's nothing wrong with that. For some other people, they might want to go after what has the smallest balances. So let's say they had 10 debts and they were able to pay 2 or 3 of them off really quickly. It feels like they had a couple of easy early wins in their debt repayment plan. So you can do it either way. And for most people, this means if you've got $5,000 or $10,000 in cash saved up in a bank account, but you got $20,000 or $30,000 in high interest debt, we're emptying the savings account. We're paying off the high interest debt because again, 10, 20, 25% interest going against you and having compounding happening negatively is a whole lot worse than if we have money sitting over here trying to earn 4 or 5% in a high yield savings account, or even being able to earn on average 10% in the stock market. Now, we want to do those things, and long-term we're going to do those things, but first things first, we are never going to win and we are never going to get ahead if we can't get rid of literally every single bad debt that we have. And the only debt I really want to see people have are mortgages on either their primary residence or rental property, and those are things we're going to talk about in the future. So today's homework is a big one. You've got a lot to do here. especially for those that have a lot of debts. And some of this should be relatively easy to find because you can go online, probably have apps on your phones for a lot of these bank accounts. I know I do. I can look at all that stuff, and you want to look at it every day. So pad of paper, Excel spreadsheet, app, I don't care, and have a little black book or some sort of book that you can write all these debts down on a regular basis so that we can start to figure out where we are and now start putting a plan in place so that we can start paying these things down. If you want to learn more about money and finance, check out this video about money reality and how it applies to your financial situation.